That's how you become.
Welcome back to the Chill Sweets kitchen. As if my mirror glaze recipe wasn't already easy enough, it's only a handful of ingredients, I've simplified it even further in terms of the way that we're going to prepare it. So instead of using the stovetop like I traditionally have, today we're going to be doing everything in the microwave, so it's going to be even easier than before. So a few things before we start making our mirror glaze. I'm using here white chocolate chips, and you can use regular white chocolate chips if that's all that you can find in your store. But if you do live near a Whole Foods, I have found that these miniature white chocolate chips melt way better, so if you can find these, they're amazing and I recommend getting them. I also have poured some gelatin into a bowl and I've let it bloom, and I've used 2 tablespoons, which is really just 2 envelopes of unflavored gelatin. So I use the Knox brand, and you can also find this at most grocery stores, but it's really important that you use unflavored gelatin. If you use regular gelatin, this will not work. It has too much sugar in it and it'll throw off the recipe. Just to remind you of the recipe, I have 2/3 of a cup of sweetened condensed milk. I have 2 tablespoons of gelatin, which I've bloomed with 1/4 of a cup of water. I have 2 cups of chocolate chips. I have a cup of water here, and I have 1.5 cups of sugar. So in order to prepare this, we're first going to add together our sugar, our water, and our sweetened condensed milk, and we're going to go ahead and pop that into the microwave. Alright, so we heated our mirror glaze for 1 minute, then we took it out and stirred it, and then we heated it up for an additional minute, and now we can see that most of the sugar in here is dissolved. Before, when I stirred, I could kind of feel the sugar around the base, but now it feels nice and smooth. So this is the point in time where we're going to go ahead and add our gelatin, and as you can see, our gelatin has bloomed. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop it out. This part always kind of creeps me out because it's just so firm, but we're going to go ahead and add this into here and make sure that you get all the gelatin out. So I'm going to break up the gelatin as much as possible with my spatula into some smaller pieces, and we're going to pop this into the microwave for an additional minute. Alright, so now we can see that the gelatin pieces that we added have fully melted, and you kind of can smell that gelatin, which I don't particularly love the smell of, but don't worry, that will go away once we add the white chocolate. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that everything is fully dissolved, and it looks pretty good. So at this step, we're going to add in half of our white chocolate, and we're going to heat for an additional minute. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and stir around now, and our chocolate chips are definitely not fully melted yet, but they are beginning to incorporate into the mixture, which is great. So we're going to go ahead and let that sit for a minute, and we're going to add in our remaining chocolate. We're just going to go ahead and make sure that all that is submerged, and we're going to let it sit for a minute before we pop it back into the microwave for an additional minute. Alright, so now that all of our ingredients are in our bowl and we've heated it for another minute, most of the chocolate is pretty melted in here, which is great. And I swear that this process is so much easier with mini white chocolate chips. So I actually noticed some little bits of chocolate that were still in my glaze, so I heated it for an additional 30 seconds, and now it is perfectly silky smooth and ready to be poured and colored. If you're struggling melting all of your chocolate, or you see a lot of little bits in there, you can always heat this up for an additional, I would say, try 30-second intervals till you get everything melted, and make sure that you stir in between. Also, if you are worried about having any chunks in your glaze, you really want it to be smooth, so you can always pour it through a sieve if you have one, and that can help ensure that you have a nice, smooth glaze. Since we did use white chocolate for this, you can see that the glaze is not a perfect white. It's definitely kind of has a yellowish hue to it. So if you're trying to make a perfectly white mirror glaze, this recipe is not great for you and not what you're looking for. But if you're planning to color it any other color, then it works fantastic. So today, since we're making a mermaid glaze cake, we're going to be using some really fun neon gel food colorings that I have. So I'm going to be using a blue, a neon green, a pink, and a purple. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this evenly between my 4 bowls, and I then am going to color them with some gel food coloring. So we're just going to go ahead and pour this out. And this process also helps the mirror glaze cool. You need the glaze to be about 90 degrees when you pour it onto the cake. So this helps get it down to the right temperature a little faster. Now that we've evenly divided our mirror glaze into 4 bowls, I'm going to go ahead and color them. So remember that a little bit of gel food coloring goes a long way. So I always like to just start with a single drop and add more as needed. So now that we have all of our mirror glazes colored, we're gonna go ahead and let these sit after heating our mirror glaze in the microwave for a total of 4.5 minutes. These are roughly 130 degrees, which is just a little bit too warm to pour over our cake. And I'm gonna stir occasionally all of them as we let them cool, because number one, this will help speed up the cooling process, and number two, we don't want it to form any kind of a film on top, so stirring them will help prevent that. So we're just gonna keep giving these a stir until they are down to the right temperature, which is roughly 90 degrees. So once these have cooled off, we're going to add them into one large bowl together, and you're going to add the most in first as the base color that you want to use, and you're then going to layer on the additional colors. So for this, I'm going to be using pink. So I'm going to be adding a bunch of pink in first. I then will be adding stripes of our colors in, and then we'll be pouring that over our frozen cake. So now that our mirror glaze is down to about 90 degrees, we're going to go ahead and pour it into our larger bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and add this in. So now I'm going to go ahead and just add in some stripes of our blue, and I'm then going to add in some of our purple. So again, this doesn't have to be perfect at all. You can have fun as you drizzle it, whatever pattern you want. It's all going to kind of swirl together when we pour it over the cake. Now our mirror glaze is complete, and it's ready to be poured over a frozen cake. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click the like and subscribe button below. If you want to see more of my cake creations, you can also follow me on Instagram @ChelSweets.